Ready Check Radio. Hello, Internet. It's Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. That means it's time for the Relic Grind, Ready Check Radio's Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. I love Thursdays. So much fun talking about Final Fantasy XIV and all things Square Enix related. It's that time, gentlemen, one of my favorite times. We are on the cusp of a Final Fantasy trading card game. New set, Opus 14, pre-release is this weekend. Just a mere 1 day away for some of you, 2 days away for others. No Gaming Gumbo this Saturday because I'll be at pre-release Saturday and Sunday at multiple stores. Monday, I will be streaming some cracking of pre-release kits. So if you want to stop by our Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern FFTXG stream, we'll crack some pre-release kits, hang out, have a good time. The full review that I did on my stream yesterday is down below here on Twitch, which reminds me, if you're watching on YouTube or on the site or listening on Spotify, consider coming over to Twitch. Hang out live. We've got chat ready to go with us. ReadyCheckRadio.com, RAIDEO. In the upper right is all the little socials. You can click, subscribe, follow, turn on notifications, tell your friends. It's the best way you can support what we do if you like this. Before we get to our usual Legends review, we've got some Final Fantasy XIV stuff to talk about. Who's going to talk about it with me? Why, it's Mr. Chris Montoya, a.k.a. Tarkoth. How do I have Ffbe's chair there? That's Ffbe, who will
At least it's not the pony. It's not the unicorn.
That's,
Rainbow unicorn.
Yeah, that is not Tark's chair.
I'm here. I'm just.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Greetings, programs. I'm a little tired. Was up to the wee hours playing some near.
I don't know, Ffbe. I don't know.
User error.
Just gives a
There's
little wave.
Tark right there. I have changed.
It's not Tark yet.
Hair.
You have now morphed into Kronos. And then we're seriously professional, by the way. Like, you wouldn't know
start
it.
over.
You wouldn't. Nah. You wouldn't know it from this type of stuff. But
technical difficulties, whatever.
We're seriously professional.
Wait. Oh, there's my hat. All right. Ooh.
Oh, we're getting you. Don't worry.
Nah.
There you go.
Yay! Let's try this again. Greetings, programs.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. A little tired. Was up to the wee hours checking out near reincarnation. There's some good stuff. There's also some bad stuff, but doing all right.
Chat is liking your wall OPS2.
PS5 at the very top. PS4, PS3, PS2, PS1.
It's a lot of PS. It's just a lot of PS. Also, hanging out with us, dear God, I hope this camera's right. Yeah, there it is. Adam Lane, a.k.a. Kronos. Back fresh from closing on the new house. Congrats, sir. Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm replacing Mr. Happy on the podcast.
Yeah, you're replacing Mr. Happy.
We look kind of similar, you know.
He sat in for you, did a very, very good job, as he always does. It's always nice.
We needed a replacement beard.
So I know you can't move in yet, but you're excited. You got the new place.
Yeah. All the paperwork's done.
The hard part's over. Now it's just the lifting part, huh?
I'm gonna pay someone to do that. Yeah.
Oh, you wuss.
Like now.
Yeah, I've got to that age where it's just like paying someone to move my stuff. Yeah,
I moved an entire house of 5 in 1 day with one U-Haul truck. You can definitely do it, sir. You can definitely do it.
I'm not saying I can't. I'm not saying that I can't do it, but you know.
You still want to.
Have someone else do it.
Yeah.
Why not? You know, right? Yeah.
All right. Well, obviously, we're still months away from Endwalker. Not a ton on the Final Fantasy XIV front, gentlemen, but we do have a little bit. Last week's show, Tark, you and Happy and I were talking about eggs. We talked about eggs. And eating almost 140,000 eggs. Well, Ross O'Donovan managed to finish the task. 147,000 was the end result. 147,000 eggs eaten on stream. Stack after stack after stack. An entire inventory's worth of eggs eaten in Final Fantasy XIV. It did go beyond the inventory a little bit because there was a whole number of viewers. If you subbed and reached certain numbers, they would add to the stack. So there was a little bit of adding, but went through all of them. Now, as if, reading this, I'm like, I'm not surprised by any of this.
No.
So he had outages, internet outages, looked pretty ragged towards the end of it, was a bit tired, couldn't eat while sleeping. So they did make a program that would allow chat to basically egg command and force the character to eat an egg. Had to order a foot pedal overnighted to him because he started to give himself carpal tunnel from playing with the keyboard and mouse. Finally finished it, a full inventory of eggs. I don't know whether to be impressed or just go, what the hell's wrong with you, Tark? What the hell's wrong with you?
I'm leaning towards what the hell's wrong with you, but hey, if it got him his views and it promotes the game, why not? It's just a little weird.
Lots of subs. Subs.
The thought of the eggs, though, just like in a real life setting, that just makes me sick, though, a little bit.
When are you going to do this, Kronos, on your stream? Well, I mean, you can't do eggs now. I mean, you got to do pretzels or something like that.
You can watch me turn in cookies for LevQuest.
No, that doesn't count.
I'll cramp my hand doing that. It sucks.
That doesn't count. I did not get a chance to tune in because, honestly, I forgot. I was so busy past week that I was just like, oh, yeah, I didn't. But I did watch some of, like, the clips and the highlights and things like that. I had to watch the foot pedal. But at the end of this, he just looked so strung out. Not nearly as strung out as, Rubber Trick Chicken. I'm sorry. What was the dude's name that did the, 30-day stream? I don't remember. That dude looked strung out at the end of it.
Was it Ludwig?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's
but
impressive.
Rubber Ninja here looked a bit tired. Can't imagine the aftermath of all those eggs. Yoshi P liked it last time. I wonder what Yoshi P thinks about it this time. I wonder what he thinks about it this time. He thought it was cute and funny when it was what, $999? Something like that.
Dedication?
It's done.
I don't know. It's done. Next time, 2 inventories full.
Oh God, don't.
Don't. Got to keep topping yourself.
Do either of you play Stardew Valley? It's not really my type of game, but I know one of my kids loves it, and it's not really mine though. No.
Same as you.
If you want to, you can now marry Emmett Selk in Stardew Valley.
That's awesome.
And if you're thinking that can't be legit, well, you're right. It's mod. It's a mod. It's a mod. NPC Emmett Selk Wizard Replacement and Spouse mod. Talk about a title that does, just tells you exactly what the mod does. It is.
You know what you're getting.
Yeah, you can head on over to Nexus Mods, grab this one up on Stardew Valley. Credit where due, Criva. Apologies on the mispronunciation if there was one there. Their first mod now replaces the wizard character in Stardew Valley with Emmett Selk, and then you can romance and turn that into a marriage candidate as well. So I'm sure a lot of people are now asking, Tark, where's the Xenos one? Where's the Xenos mod?
I'm wanting to know where's the Estinian or the Ishtola mod.
Estinian's definitely another one that I see a lot of. Yeah. Xenos.
Give me
Estinian.
Y'shtola though. I'd play the game.
You want to marry Y'shtola?
She's the best. She's the best girl.
I mean, your odds are good. She's blind. Oh, got him! Got him!
That was terrible.
but she can see my bountiful ethereal presence.
Got
So
him. Oh, is that
there
what
we
it is?
go.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Got him.
Bam. Yeah, even the chat's like, boo.
Who do you want to marry, Kronos? Who in 14 do you want to marry? Since that's the level of programming we offer you now.
I'm just riding Stag, man. I'm good.
Ride Stag. I mean, I think I got to go with the old standby Minfilia, right? I mean, not
Sure.
not young Shadowbringers.
I think you're a bit too
Not
late,
Ren?
right?
No,
I think
you
you waited a bit long to marry
I think you
Minfilia.
missed your boat there.
Nah, never.
She's given herself over to the crystal.
Never. It's never too late. Never too late. Yeah, Minfilia, sure. Why not? I'm surprised Emmett Selk was first though. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Emmett. I absolutely love that character. But I'm honestly surprised it wasn't Xenos first. With
It's
all
funny.
the...
I feel like I see more about Amaric when people talk about stuff like that. A lot of people like Amaric.
Yeah, that is another one.
So.
Ochfont.
There's a lot of Final Fantasy XIV characters that you would marry, actually. Damn. Like, I've never sat and thought about this, but I'm pretty sure I could make a top 10 list out of that shit. Huh. Interesting.
Be careful what you ask modders to do.
I don't know if I would. I mean, I like the MSX in the game, but, the first time you have an argument with them, he's just going to wave you off.
Yeah. I mean, Thancred gets a lot of love, too. Especially, well, I mean, there's like a dividing line, too. You like older bad boy Thancred or newer daddy figure Thancred. Like, you got two different lines to go down there if you're a Thancred fan. Xenos needs to develop a character trait that isn't hunting my friend. Or coming back from the dead. One of the two. Well, he has those two character traits. Who do you want to marry in Final Fantasy XIV? Put it in the comments below, because this is top tier gaming coverage right here. Lots of people still continuing to jump on the Final Fantasy XIV train. Woo woo! Here it goes. Summit 1 has been indulging for a little bit in the Final Fantasy XIV world. However, on a recent stream, things kind of went sour.
It was a big oops.
Big oops. Summit 1G in the Shiva fight. No spoilers for Sleepy Rain. I don't even know if she's still in chat, but just in case. And, oh, damn. Got DC'd. Didn't get DC'd. Forgot to pay the sub.
The sub doesn't care if you're in a duty, okay? You gotta pay your sub.
Right. It does, and it is impressive, man. It is like down to the minute. They're like, and 30 days. You're done.
I've had this happen in the middle of a Savage raid.
I was just going to ask, because this has never happened to me because mine's on an auto renew, right? So I have never had to worry about this. I assume both of you were probably the same, but Kronos, if this has happened to you, share.
Not to me personally. So I have a raid member that puts in, like, they just pay by time. And I think it was during Titan E4S, and they their sub ran out. I've also had a raid member get banned mid-raid, so that was kind of fun. Wait, what? Too. Yeah, so actually, you know him, actually. So you ever played with Johnny in the card game?
Yeah.
So Johnny raised with me, and I was helping his group do an ultimate.
Okay.
And we were doing Uwu, and I think we had just gotten to ultimate, like the cutscene's playing or whatever. It's not really a cutscene, like you're in the middle of a fight, and he's like eating Garuda. And Johnny's like DCing or whatever, and we're like, what the heck's going on? And then Johnny's like in chat with us, and he had got pulled into the DM jail, and he got banned mid Uwu pool.
Oh my god!
Oh wow!
Are we allowed to share what was the offense? Do we know?
I think it was something in Limsa.
I don't want to embarrass anybody. So.
No. I don't think it was anything that bad. I think it was something in Limsa. I don't even remember the context. I don't think it was anything that bad. But I think it was someone reported him for something in Limsa. You know, I don't know. It's Limsa. He's on Fanfrit. Some weird stuff goes down sometimes.
Good old Limsa.
No, it was a pretty funny story, though.
Yeah, it is. Medic says, who forgets to pay the sub? Somebody that pays for 1 month to stream it for a little bit and see if they even remotely like it. I could definitely see somebody paying monthly for a little bit to check it out on stream and stuff like that, Tark. That's who forgets. Yeah,
that's who forgets. I've had one story with my raid team. This was a couple years back. but our ninja, his sub ran out. He's like, I don't have the money to pay for it. So our tank was gracious enough to give him a game time card. So my tank's like, okay, now that you're playing, you're one of our least powerful DPS, and we need you to step up your game and work on your rotation stuff. And the ninja, of course, is like, you don't pay my sub. And my tank was like, actually, yeah, I did. So I need you to step up your game.
In point of fact, actually, I do pay your sub. Well, that was nice to pay the sub.
Yeah.
Nice to pay the sub. I remember when my wife and I played Final Fantasy XI like religiously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both of us playing, and there was another couple in our guild they lived a couple states away. We knew them online, right? That was it. Never met them or anything. And always talking in the link shell and all that stuff. And Treasures of At Urgan had come out, and they were going to take a break from the game because they couldn't afford one copy at the time, let alone two. So my wife and I mailed them copies of the game so they could keep playing. I don't want to give their names. I mean, not like it would really do anything. I did know their first names. And I wonder, like, whatever happened to them. Like, you kind of separate ways, and you always wonder what happened with some of those people. They were super nice. Joey and Hanny were their names. Yeah, good peoples. If you are looking for stock on some of the more popular Final Fantasy XIV items, lore-wise, book-wise, stuff like that, you might want to keep an eye on the site. So there is going to be finally a reprint on the Encyclopedia Eorzea and the Encyclopedia Eorzea Volume 2 if you missed out on what was, I think, rather a small run initially. Because didn't they prep those for FanFest? The first
both
one?
were for FanFest.
They'll be reprinted, and you still got some time, and will release on April 12th, 2022. So you might want to get a pre-order in on those two things. Love to see those coming back. They're such wonderful books. If you care at all about the lore, they're just fantastic books to flip through. You don't even have to like cover to cover it. Just pick a section and read about something. They're just very cool books. And then on the new stuff, May 10th, 2022, we're going to get the Final Fantasy XIV poster collection. This is a collection of 27 premium quality and full color removable posters. The Final Fantasy XIV poster collection features breathtaking character art spanning from A Realm Reborn through Shadowbringers. The posters are printed on heavy press varnished cardstock to provide a rich visual tribute to the world of Eorzea, to which I immediately said, Tark, son of a bitch, I'm going to have to frame 27 of these things.
That's exactly what I thought. I need to find 27 frames and find space for 27 posters. Back to the books, though. I'm super excited. I missed that first run. I'm so happy.
You don't have either of them, or
I don't have either of them. I was in a situation where didn't have the money, and just timing wasn't right. So
yeah, we've all been there.
Now, yeah. So I'm gonna add them to my book collection over here and put them next to my Ultimania. So it's gonna be.
You are gonna love them, my friend.
Yes,
you are absolutely gonna love them. Kronos, you own them, right?
I don't.
Whoa!
Actually.
What is wrong with my host?
However, my birthday is April 11th. So if you want, April 12th is pretty close, right? Just saying.
Mike, you want to split it?
Sorry, can't do it. That's one day off. That's if it was on your birthday, I would. But it's
All right. He squashed it. Sorry.
Oh, I can't believe you. I mean, they are gorgeous books. Just the covers of them are gorgeous.
I remember, I think I tried to get the first one and it sold out. And then I'm like one of those weirdos. Like if I don't get the first one, I don't want to just own the second one. So it's like, I might try to get it. We'll see.
All I know,
I can't pull it off the shelf there in a non-crazy manner. So.
I gotta get it because there's a minion, and it'll be my first premium item minion, and get me closer.
Yeah. I did pick up a couple minions this week. I think I picked up 4 or 5 or 3. It was somewhere between 3 and 5. I know I got the Apkalu, so stop fucking making fun of me, all of you. I did the sightseeing log.
Yeah, yes. I saw the tweet.
Yeah, I tweeted to Mr. Happy to stop
Oh
making
my
fun
goodness.
of me. The Realm Reborn sightseeing log is done. I grabbed
It wasn't
that one.
bad. See,
I got that. I got Reen, and I think I got 2 other ones. So I think I got 4 this week. You know what really bothers me, by the way, on that whole thing? This sounds so stupid for somebody that is like, I consider myself a 14 expert. That doesn't mean that I'm an expert in every single detail of the game, but overall, I have covered this game since version 1 and never frickin' stopped. The outlet has just changed. That's it. So I consider myself well-versed in 14. I killed Faust 4 times, unsynced, before I remembered they won't drop shit when you're unsynced. Because I still don't have the Faustus minion. I just never had it drop where I want it. And so I Black Mage soloed Faust on Savage like 4 times back to back to back before I was like, oh shit, yeah, I'm going to actually have to do this.
No, I think that's A8, right?
Yeah,
I think Brute drops the Faust
That's
minion.
Brute.
Yeah.
That's Brute Justice, dude.
So I think you can unsync that. I think that's a guaranteed drop from Brute.
Yeah, it's a guaranteed drop. Part of the chest.
If it's the minion I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
if it's not, then I'm not sure. But
Alexander, Burden of the Sun Savage.
Yep.
Yeah, because Brute doesn't have a mount. Because only A4 and A12 drop mounts. I know that 100%.
Obtained from
Son of the Savage. That's Brute Justice.
It is Brute Justice, yeah.
It's Father, then Son, then Creator.
Then Holy Ghost.
So I was fighting. I just thought Faust dropped it. I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it would make sense, right? Yeah. But
No. You're just killing the wrong boss. Unsynced is fine. You're just killing the wrong boss.
But yeah, I think you should be able to unsync that and be fine.
Yeah.
We'll see. So that's one. Then the rest, I don't know what you have left, Tark, but the rest I have there's a couple PvP ones that I'm just not gonna get. Like one is like 15,000 assists. One is like 300 kills. I'm not gonna get those 2. Even if I was like, okay, I'll do a little bit of PvP. As soon as I looked and saw 15,000, I was like, that's not a little bit of PvP.
Those need to come in the Moogle tombstones. That's the only way I'm going to get them.
You know which ones that I'm missing the most of is generally the 24-man raid drop ones.
I noticed that.
Yeah, that's I never seem to win those ever. Like I see them drop every time I do one, but I never seem to win them.
It's a lot easier now, especially with the newer 24-mans. Each Alliance's chest has their own minion drop,
I know.
So you're not fighting the entire Alliance for one.
I mean, I did Paradigm's Breach this week. Saw it, lost. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
There's only 8 of you. There's only 8 of us. I only have to beat 7 of you bastards. How do I still keep losing? But yeah, that's most of
rolling like crap.
I could storm through and pick up like 5 or 6. That is a big gap in mine. I just never seem to get lucky in those 24-person raids.
You know what I need help with?
What do you need help with?
I need someone to do Verminion with me. No one will do Verminion with me if Ffbe wins.
Oh, do you need the tournament stuff or?
No, I got the tournament one.
Yeah,
it's the ranked match wins.
Yeah,
I need 20 more ranked match wins for that damn Swallow Eye.
I'll do Verminion if you do one of the mounts I'm missing for me.
What's that?
You can either, I'll let you pick one. You can pick one of the mounts I'm missing. You can either give me the Pterodactyl. That's just a cool like 500 hours of grinding crafting if you want to do that, or you can get me one of the hunt mounts. Have fun.
Yeah, Tark, I think
how do I get you one of the?
I think you just go without the minion, Tark. It's just one. It's just one. You let that one go.
I have the blue mage mount.
Yeah, he's already got that.
I got that one on a lot. That's just raiding. That's easy.
Anyway, enjoy your Eorzea encyclopedias when you get them.
Yeah.
The last item comes out July 16th of 2022, and this is a Final Fantasy XIV picture book. Written by Final Fantasy XIV Online lead story designer Banri Oda and illustrated by Final Fantasy XIV Online concept artist Hiroyuki Nagamine, this whimsical tale was crafted for readers of all ages and has now been translated into English for even more readers to enjoy. So we've got a children's picture book, Final Fantasy XIV. I mean, I'm going to get it, but, you know.
I'm going to get it and read it to my children to go to bed at night.
Yeah, you still have little ones. That's right.
Yeah.
You still have little ones. Me, I'd be like telling my 20-year-old son, all right, get into bed. Dad's going to read you the Final Fantasy XIV picture book.
Could you please take a picture of that? I can see that image in my head.
Yeah.
I need that picture.
I want the blankets up to his neck.
I want the tiniest bed, too. You got to put him on the tiniest bed so like his feet are hanging off.
Yes, we will do that, but he will totally be game for it. We will do that. It's a year away, basically, but yes, we will do that picture.
I have a different image. He can be sitting on the bed, Indian style, cross-legged, and in Transformers pajamas, and just like, totally enraptured with you. That would be a great picture.
Gotta find footy pajamas. Actually, him and I both own like Ted teddy bear like zip-up footy pajamas with a Ted head on the top of it.
Nice.
Yeah, because we're adults. Prismine, I don't care about your emotes. We're adults. On the other Square Enix news front, the 1, 2, and 3, forgot an I there, Pixel remasters are released. They are out in the wild. Changes have been made to it, some, including the font, but not... Square didn't change the font, but you can change the font. And I'm sure you're going, man, I really don't want to download a mod and have to do this just to change the... No, you don't. You just got to go rename one of the or two of the files in the actual Steam folder for the games, because apparently Square has a better font in the damn games.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, right? They're in the damn games. So in the files for the game, there is a Japanese language version of the games that has an English font, and that one is better than the English version font. So if you go rename the two files and swap them, you're done, and you have a better font. If it was this easy, like, how did Square not just change this to the default font based on the feedback when they initially gave the trailers and everybody was like, God, that font. Like, how did they not go, hey, Tark, go ahead and swap over to that other font we have in the files, please? like just...
Be such an easy fix. Who approved the initial font? Like, it's like, you know what? That looks good.
That font is used on everything Eastern, whether it's Korean, Chinese, Japanese, any mobile game that comes from the East, like, has that font. Or the other font that Jason Winter loves so much, the stupid Battle Numbers one. I don't know. It's an easy fix. And actually, I'll tell you what. I didn't buy them. I haven't bought them yet.
But I haven't yet.
They are getting reviewed very, very well, actually.
They look decent. They look pretty decent.
Yeah. A couple gripes from people here and there on different things, like the hand-to-hand, the fists glowing red. I'm not sure what that's all about. Doesn't look quite right. But for the most part, Kronos, they're getting pretty well reviewed.
I didn't expect them to get better. I mean, it's the same game.
Yeah.
The games are good. My issue is the price. So it's
100%.
Sure, the people that are reviewing it, most of them probably got the game for free. So it's like, that's not really like a thing they're really thinking about. I mean, they some of them might, but my issue is not the games. If you haven't played the games, you should play the games. They're awesome. And I mean, yeah, they're just the same games with like a slight facelift, I guess. And go ahead.
Number one comment I see when I look on like the comments on Facebook under an ad for this, Tark, still continues to be, when can I buy this on the Switch? To which I think the answer, Tark,
better be soon.
Is
soon.
Just use this Switch. And
yeah.
I mean, there you go. Use that Switch right there.
I still have that ready for you.
That's the Switch that you'll
use.
That's
the Switch Pro, right?
Yes, that's the Switch Pro right there.
Good luck getting one of those, though.
I mean, mine is Q2 of next year. So, Final Fantasy XVI, little bit of an update here. Kind of loose lips, Yoshida sitting around talking with different interviewers, was sitting there talking to Wasyagana. I can never remember. I hope that's right. On YouTube, through translations, we now know that on the Final Fantasy XVI front, he was talking about 14 and how he doesn't interfere with like the voice acting. He doesn't even want to be there when they're recording because maybe, he might say, oh, we'll try this and try that, and then that starts stepping on people's toes because he's the director and producer, and he doesn't want that, so he avoids the room. So very coyly, they said, well, what about on Final Fantasy 16? And Yoshi P said, I'm not attending the recordings there either because I'm not the game's scenarist. During the scenario-focused meetings we already had a lot of discussions like this line would be better that way to show protagonist Clive's psychology, and those remarks are taken into account during the recordings. We've been prioritizing English voice acting, and we're specifically doing it in British English. We're using facial capture, so later on we won't have to adjust by hand each of the faces during the cutscenes. And it's a full capture, as in the motion capture actors are also doing the voice acting simultaneously. Well, we're not doing it for every single cutscene, though. But anyway, that's why English dubbing has progressed the most. The Japanese dubbing will start soon. And a few follow-up comments from there. But there we go. British English, voice acting, and mocap at the same time. And English is just about done. Just about done. This game is not far off, Tark. This game is not 2-3 years far off at this point. It just can't be.
What was my original prediction way back in the day? I was like 2022 maybe, that could be a real thing. With comments from Yoshida that he's not going to release any big PR until
he doesn't want to do
pretty much right around the corner.
Fed PR.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When we start seeing something, it's going to be soon. I'm excited. What
do you think, Cronus?
I mean, it's still hard to say. Probably 2022 is a pretty good guess. I'm glad that I hate people that micromanage. So the part of that article where he's letting actual people do their jobs, I find awesome. So yeah. I think that's just why he's so good at what he does. He knows you put the people in the right place, they do the job, you're good to go.
Did you guys see the translation? I know this is Final Fantasy XIV and maybe backtracking a little bit, but did you guys see the translation where he was talking about ACT?
I heard about it, but I didn't watch it myself.
Where he spends 5 or 6 minutes and he's just talking about, okay, look, ACT, all it's doing is it's reading our combat logs and then it's running the data. And he was like, but technically it's a third-party tool, so you can't use it. Our official stance is you can't use it. But this gets weird, because if you sat there playing Final Fantasy with a calculator, could you say that the calculator is a third-party tool? And he said, now the discussion never ends. What about if you exported all the data when you were done raiding and put it in an Excel and built macros to run the numbers for you afterwards? Now, is Excel a third-party tool? Is a mouse with multiple buttons or more buttons than normal a third-party tool? And he was like, and that's the whole point. I don't want that discussion to be a thing. I don't want this to be used for abuse. So officially, no, you can't use these things. We don't know what's on your computer. We don't want to know what's on your computer. But it's why when you send us emails saying ban this person, they use ACT, we ignore them because we don't want to get into this retaliation thing back and forth. Now, if you go to the forums and you post pictures of somebody's ACT screens that is not your character and you're calling them out or something, we're going to ban you for harassment, not third-party tool usage. And I was just like, yeah, go. He's like, it's such a gray area.
Yeah.
He tries so hard to be like, I don't care if you use it, but you have to know that if we decide to ban all third-party tools at some point, hardline ban them, you're running that risk by using it.
Yeah.
Oh, God. The Avengers Wakanda expansion launches next month. Actually, it launches in like 18 days. The announcement came today, August 17th. You're going to get it for free if you have Marvel's Avengers, but here's the really... I had to laugh, and I feel bad, right? There are people behind this game, but I had to laugh when I read the PR, because I get the official press releases, not the email blasts to customers that registered for. I get the official sending to media outlets releases. And in there, in fact, you know what? Hold on. Let me just pull it up. And because this is just tremendous, the way this is worded. Square Enix, Marvel Avengers. Here it is. And they may have ended up using portions of this in the... That is not it. In the ad, that is... I accidentally opened the ad copy one that I got as a customer. This is the one I want. The press release for media. The War for Wakanda expansion adds to a game already packed with content, including 8 other playable heroes, because Black Panther comes with this, right? More than 25 hours of single-player campaign content and endless multiplayer action for up to 4 players. I skipped something in that sentence, and it's what made me laugh when I read this. Because they're talking about stuff that's already packed with content. But then there is a little parentheses on one of these items and a subthought. So let me reread the sentence now, and I will include for you, gentlemen, what is in parentheses.
All right.
Keep in mind that the sentence starts by talking about stuff that's already in the game. With me?
Ready.
Got it.
The War for Wakanda expansion adds to a game already packed with content, including 8 other playable heroes, more than 25 hours of single-player campaign content from the core release through the expansion, and endless multiplayer action for up to 4 players. They're talking about stuff that's already in the game, trying to say, we're adding to this massive amount of stuff, including 25 hours of single-player campaign content, if you count the expansion we're about to release.
How many hours did it take you to get through the campaign?
12.
Okay. So they're going to double it about.
From the
Hopefully.
core release through the expansion. Not up to the expansion, through the expansion. This stuff's already in the game, 25 hours. But you got to count this thing that comes out in 3 weeks. I literally laughed out loud. I was like, wait a minute. You can't start the paragraph like that and then put that little disclaimer in there. But hey, if you want it, you're going to have it in about 3 weeks. And it's free, so, I'll own it, I guess, because I own the game. Let's do a little set. Yep, that's me. Let's do a little set review, gentlemen. We've got the pre-release this weekend. Let's take a look at the Legends, as we always do on the Relic Grind, when we have a new Final Fantasy trading card game set release. Opus 14 pre-release this weekend. The full release of the set the following weekend, but we've got all the cards in. So let's take a look at the Legends. Those of you that follow and play FFTXG might notice this set looks a little weird when it comes to the distribution of Legends across the elements. There are some elements that have 2 Legends that are just that color, and then others that have 1 and a multicolor, a multi-element Legend. My guess, and the guess of many, is probably next set they'll be reversed. Right? The sets that got 1 and 1 will get 2, and the sets that got 2 will get 1 and a multi-element, just to balance things out over time. This is Opus 14. It will be the last set that bears the Opus prefix, the Opus set name. Of course, since it's 14 got a lot of love in this set. Xenos on the box and everything. So here we go, gentlemen. Let's start with the Fire... Whoops. Where's the right button? There it is. The Fire Legend Garland. Images courtesy, as always, of FFTXG.com. Garland, a 4-drop, 8,000 power forward. If Garland is dealt damage by a summon or an ability, the damage becomes 0 instead. When a backup is put from the field into the break zone, draw a card. And Flare, for a discard of card name Garland and Dull, you get the special ability, choose a forward, break it, then your opponent selects one backup they control, put it in the break zone. So you break a forward, and they got to basically Famfrit one of their own backups into the break zone, which will then trigger you drawing a card on that second auto ability. What do you think, Kronos?
I think it's pretty solid. Everything on it's good, right? Nothing on it's bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like how much it's going to find its way into fire decks that are being played right now. It might just be good enough just because he's that solid. It's a little unfortunate it doesn't combo with Nail, I think. But I think that's also on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, they don't really want you doing that. They don't want you, like, into the game, you play this dude Nail, or, like, you play Nail after this guy's survived a turn, and then you just throw all your backups at him and draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah, because they do have to enter the break zone. They can't just be RFG'd.
Right. But yeah, I think he's pretty solid. Not anything, like, crazy, but, I mean, just a good card.
So for the last 3 Opus sets, my 5-drop Lulu, like my favorite deck, right? That has been Earth Lightning for the last 3 or 4 sets, pretty much, because that's been the strongest combination for her. There's quite a few things in this set that make me want to try it in in Lightning Fire. This set, this is one of them. This is one of those cards that, you know, when Lulu's just breaking backups, anything you can add to that deck that gets you value anytime a backup or your own backup specifically leave the field, that's just gravy. You know, that's just absolute great. Crow goes in that deck, not because I'm probably not going to dull many things, but because I'm going to break Crow at some point. And by the way, when I do, she's going to grab me a forward from the break zone. This fits that mold. Now, there are other fire things that do too, like a 1-drop Alua gives my 3-drop Lightning Alua in that deck more special opportunities. The 1-drop maybe is going to ping for a piece of early thing, and the combat math gets funky with Alua too, and with Alua with Garland on the board, that gets a little more weird too. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to trying Lulu in Lightning Fire, which was her home long, long ago. But it's been more Lightning Earth for my playstyle. I like this card. What do you think, Tark?
You guys have more experience in combinations. I kind of just have to go with just how I feel about the card individually.
Yeah. No, and that's why I like doing this. We got experience and newer players, perspectives here.
I was pretty much on par with Kronos. It feels like a solid card. Only 4 costs. You get 8,000, but it doesn't do anything crazy or out of this world game breaking. He's a solid card.
That special is sick. That special is disgusting.
It's rate too.
It's really cheap. It's really cheap, and it's a 2-for-1. Get rid of a forward, get rid of a backup,
and draw a card.
And there are other card named Garlands that you could definitely be running that will help other aspects of the deck too. We do it on a rate of scale of 1 to 10 here, ladies and gentlemen. I think competitively, I got to give this one probably like a 6. It's pretty. While it's very cool, I do think it's gonna struggle to find space in some decks. So on that, for me personally, I probably give it a 7 because there's a little more with decks that I play with that might be able to capitalize on this a little bit. But competitively, I probably give it a 6. What do you think, Kronos? What's your final score for Garland?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think a 6, because I'm always going to come at it from a competitive angle. It's kind of where I'm coming from. So yeah, I think it's probably around a 6. I think it's the problem is it's gonna. I don't know where it exactly fits in. I think it's a good card. It's something you'll look at, but is it good enough to like run? Because you want to run 3 of this dude because he has a special probably.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I falter a little bit. But I think it's a solid card. I would, someone who really wants to run it and invest in it. I think the Lulu stuff's pretty cool. You actually bring up a pretty like cool thing to do with it. So that's interesting. But I think overall, I'd probably still sit somewhere around a 6.
Yeah, I just think it struggles a little bit because you're going to have to run it. If you're going to run it at all, like you said, you're going to run it as a 3-of. And in Fire decks or Fire X decks, those are premium spots. Those are for a whole play set of something to go in. What's the score from you there, Tark?
For solid, not crazy in my opinion. 6.5, 7. Solid card.
All right, we're all on the same page. Next up, the Ice Legend, Gilgamesh FFBE, and I mean, I laugh a little bit because this one was actually spoiled a long time ago. It was one of the earlier spoilers for the season, and just looking at it, I kind of was like, I'm so sorry, Ice players. I'm so sorry that this is one of your legends. 3-drop 7k power. If you have 3 or more different elements among cards in your break zone, Gilgamesh FFBE gains 1,000 power, haste, and first strike. Okay, that's not too crazy, right? Because mono ice, mono anything, has kind of been on a downswing for the last couple of sets with the dawn of multi-element cards. This set does try and boost mono play up a little bit more, which I do appreciate them doing. But so you're probably running Ice X, and in a lot of cases, you might be running Ice X and a splash. So maybe 3 colors isn't that hard. Maybe you're running a light or a dark card in there too. So 3, okay, that's not too bad. If you have 7 or more different elements among the cards in your break zone, Gilgamesh FFBE also gains Brave, and Gilgamesh FFBE can attack 3 times in the same turn. Now, that is a sick ability, because you're getting 1,000 power, haste, first strike, Brave, and can attack 3 times per turn. But you got to think about what you got to do. You got to get 7 elements in your break zone. There are only 6 colored elements, and then light and dark as elements 7 and 8, which cannot be discarded for CP. So you've got to find a way to discard these cards just to get them in there, or get them killed on board, or find some way to get a light or a dark card into your break zone along with one of every other element. And it doesn't work with things like Yuri. Yuri is all elements, but only when on the field. So you can't even trick it that way. When Gilgamesh FFB attacks, choose a character. If you have 5 or more different elements among the cards in your break zone, dull it and freeze it, which naturally, if you were getting the 7 trigger, you're getting this trigger every time as well. I went first last time. I'll throw it to Kronos this time.
Yeah, I think this card sucks. Unless they print a card that that is like Yuri, but like in all areas kind of thing, like not a field ability.
Yep.
I think this card's gonna struggle to get there. I think it's a card that like some casual players might look at and like, oh cool, I'll do that. But 7 element decks, I mean, that's a lot. And I mean the effect is strong if it but then the problem is like, what if your opponent just misdragons you?
Yeah.
Oh, oops. Now you just have a 3 CP 7K. Cool card. I think this card's bad.
Misdragon just boots your break zone for those of you that... The only problem with this is Misdragon Medic. If you think that's the only problem with this, we disagree a little, my friend. Tark, what do you got?
Even I was like, who's building their decks like this? This just seems awful. I mean, I was right there with you. I'm like, okay, you got 2 elements and a light or a dark, or light and a dark, so that's maybe 4. But 5 just for the attacking ability. Who in the world is building a 7 element deck? That just seems just blah. This is bad. This is just bad.
If you are looking for a big body that can attack multiple times, there are just flat out better options.
Yeah, we'll talk about one later.
Yeah, the ability is fine. Like, I like it. I think the text is all interesting. It's fun, but it's a fun conceptually, I should say. It's fun conceptually. But there are just better ways to do this if that's your objective, is to get big, beefy things, give them first strike, give them brave, have them swing a bunch of times. There are just better ways to do this than to try and 7-color your deck, I think. I personally, I give this one a 3. And the only reason I'm giving it a 3 is because I think conceptually I like the play space that this card is thinking about doing. I just don't think it does it well yet. And I'm okay with giving credit for, hey, keep messing with this idea, but don't mess with it in this way or to this extreme. It's not quite there. So I'm going to give it a 3. What do you got, Tark?
I'm gonna give it a 1. Maybe it should be lower than that, but you're right. The idea is fascinating, but there's nothing to support that idea currently in the game that I can think of. Again, with my limited experience, so yeah, a big fat 1. Just no, just no. Why would you put this in your deck? Why?
What do you got, Miss Dragon? I mean, Kronos.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm rating this from like a competitive standpoint, so I'm going to 1 too.
That's fair. Like if you're looking strictly competitive standpoint, that's fair.
The only way I could maybe see this is if someone builds something in a way where you're playing like enough dual stuff, I guess, where you just hit the 3 and that's enough. But I don't even know if it's really good enough to run for that. That's the thing. I mean, Haze First Strike 8K is good, but
I think if you do it that way, then you can't possibly be taking advantage of the benefits of the dual element cards. If you do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like like how the old Guido decks had like Ice, Wind, and which like they had those like several dual element, maybe, but I feel like I'm grasping straws, to be honest. Like I think the card's bad.
Yeah, you have to reach to get to that.
Yeah, it feels like you're trying to find a way to make it work rather than having an idea of, oh, I can make this work and here's how.
Yeah.
Which is two different things in my book when you're building a deck. Next up, we hit the first of the primals from Final Fantasy XIV. Now, keep in mind, these guys got backup support, too. Each element has a Beast Tribe backup that is multi-card playable, that activates when its corresponding elemental primal enters. So when Shiva enters the field as an ice primal, they would activate. And they also have some type of dulling action ability that they can use, but only when a corresponding elemental primal is on the field. So along with the primals, you also get these little the beast tribes from Final Fantasy XIV making their mark in the game as well. So here we have Shiva, Lady of Frost, 5-drop 9K. You cannot play Shiva. Excuse me. I'm choking. You cannot play Shiva, Lady of Frost, or card name Ysael while already in control of either character. Makes sense thematically for 14 fans. When Shiva, Lady of Frost enters the field, choose one character opponent controls, dull it, and freeze all the forwards opponent controls. Action ability that at any time you can put 3 backups into the break zone. You can remove Shiva, Lady of Frost from the game, then play her back onto the field. Notice that doesn't say play her dull. That just says play her. So that's something interesting to think about there on that. Tark, I'll let you go first on this one.
I don't understand that last...
How
does that work?
So it's a flicker effect. Yeah. If you've played Magic the Gathering, it's a flicker. So what you're essentially doing is you want it to leave the field and be replayed onto the field so that it gets its enter the field effect again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in this case, you're sacking 3 backups to remove her, put her back, dull a character, and freeze all the forwards again.
And then you just get to put her right back.
Yeah.
Basically at the cost of 3 backups.
Yeah, you sacrifice 3 backups, you remove her from the field, you put her back on the field, and because she's entering the field again, you get that second effect. Choose one character opponent controls, dull it, freeze all the forwards opponent controls again.
It was just a little confusing.
And the interesting part, like I said, is that it doesn't enter the field again dull, which is what you usually see on a flicker effect. This, you could have a dull Shiva on board, and in response to something, break 3 backups, remove her, bring her back, get her effect, and she's active, so you could potentially block with her or whatever you want.
Sounds pretty legit. That's pretty awesome. Thank you for the explanation.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So what do you think of it? What do you think of it as a card?
That's actually pretty cool. I like it. I want to see that in use, and we need to play more.
Not we. You. I'm here. I play.
I know.
I play. I took 1 week off on Octagon because we were going into a pre-release and nobody was on Octagon. Everybody was using that as the week off before pre-release. All right, so from the casual perspective, you dig it. Kronos, from the competitive side, I mean, I'm the competitive side too, but I tend to also go with heart a little bit. You're just a cold, calculated bastard, so we'll go with you.
I like that. I'm definitely that person for sure. No, I think the more I think about her, I think she's pretty strong. There's a lot of things you can do with the second ability since she doesn't come back dull, right? You can avoid removal. You can block something and like then kind of like flicker her, so it almost like heals her in a way, I guess, because she's a different card. Um, you could like prolong the game, right? Because you can dull forwards. The only thing that I think is from like a ruling perspective, right? If you make the character that she's trying to dull illegal, she's not freezing anything, so there's that kind of like play around.
Yeah.
But she's big. She costs 5 theoretically. When you play her, if it's like the end of the game, you can do her ability 3 times in one turn, right? You could like play her, then flicker her, then play a backup, then break the rest of your backups to kind of like push for the end of the game. So there's a lot of interesting things that she can do, even from a like all those things. I think are pretty viable from a competitive standpoint. I just don't know how good Ice is, I guess, but like she's not even really like color restricted. So I think she's strong. It's hard for me to like. I don't want to go like too far because I don't think she's like. I mean, spoiler alert. I don't think she's like a 10 or anything, but I do think she's strong.
See, for her, for me, she's one of those cards that has text that makes you go, "That's really good text," and then you go, "But you're not a great card. Like, I don't think you're a great card." And I would love to be wrong about this one, but I just don't think this quite does it. Particular, I mean, in Ice it makes sense, right? It's Shiva, it's dulling, it's doing the freezing. Yeah. Freezing forwards is absolutely powerful. It's just absolutely powerful. Freezing all forwards, but to really maximize that is super situational, right? You need, Kronos has 4 forwards out. He swung into me on the previous turn with 3. He played the 4th in main 4 or main 2. So when I took the turn in main 1, I dropped Shiva, dulled that forward he just played, and then froze all 4. But for that type of situation, I've probably taken 2 or 3 damage to get that bounce back with Shiva to buy me 2 turns. I do think that you can get funky with this card. No doubt, Kronos, I think you're right. I think you can get really funky and do some wild shit. And when you see that wild stuff go off, you're like, I need to build a deck around Shiva. And then you build one around her, and you're like, that happens once in every 700 games, and I just happened to see it, is what happened. So for me, this doesn't quite do it for me. I don't think it's going to see a ton of competitive play. I think all the primals are going to be experimented with heavily at the beginning of this set, but I think she's one of the ones that we'll see drop off before we get to the next set of 15, whatever the hell it is, Crystal Domination or Crystal something, I don't know. The next set that comes out. I'm going to give this one
Opus 15. Everybody's just going to call it Opus 15.
I'm going to give this one a 5. I can't really give it any lower because the text is functional. The text is good. The text does good things. That action ability, I think, comes at too high a cost to make it anything better than a 5. And I just have a feeling that out of all the primals, she's going to be one of the first that just kind of falls out of decks competitively. Tark, what do you got?
I think you're wrong on that. I think she's gonna surprise some people.
Don't get me wrong. As a one of in an ice deck, I think it's kind of a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
It's for the same reason you put a 6-drop Bahamut 0 in a lightning deck, right?
Yeah.
If I happen to get that at the right time, I swing for a win. I just don't think you build around her.
Gotcha. I'm gonna give her an 8. I think she's pretty strong. And understanding what that ability is, yeah, you can do some crazy shit and really catch some people off guard if you're planning correctly.
What you got, Adam?
Yeah, I'm somewhere between a 7 and 8. I agree. I do agree with you. I don't think she's a build around card. I think you just play her kind of what she is, and like I think like smarter players are gonna find those trickier things. I think she's very slippery, and like there's a lot you can do with it, like a lot of situations. But I do agree they're probably not going to come up every game for sure. Some games she might just end up being 5 CP 9K. So I'm going to stick with
Medic
7.
Bringing up a good point that it's not restricted to ice backups, that ability. It's just 3 straight backups.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I said that. Maybe I said ice, but I don't know. But no, I'm going to stick with a 7. I just think she's good. But I think she's gonna. The reason I'm a little bit higher on her because like I think I gave Garland a 7 is I think she'll find her way into more decks than Garland. But I think she's pretty solid. So
next up, the Wind Primal, Bismarck, Lord of the Mists. 5-drop 9K forward. When a character is returned from the field to its owner's hand, draw 1 card. This effect will trigger only once per turn. At the end of each of your turns, choose up to one wind character you control. Return it to its owner's hand. Action ability: dull 1 active wind forward. Choose a forward. Deal it 2k damage. 2k damage. A lot of text once again, but is it any good? What do you got, Kronos?
So this one's weird for me because I feel like in order to get the most out of this card, you're going to have to end your turns with like 3 or less cards in your hand, right? Because of how this triggers. So if you end your turn with, say, 4 cards, right? And you want to return a wind character to your hand, now you have 5 cards in hand. And now Bismarck's going to force you to draw a card at the end of your turn. So now you have 6 cards in hand. And the game's rules state that you can only have 5, so you have to discard down from 6 to 5. I think that makes him awkward, right? So I'm not sure. Like to me that feels not great to do because that's kind of like what the card wants to do, right? So I think in order to get the most out of him, we're gonna have to like find ways to really like abuse that and stay down to 3 so that we maybe drop to 5. But then Wind already has a lot of ways to return stuff that you want to reuse anyway. So is it even worth playing this guy? So yeah, I'm kind of like leaning toward. I don't think he's that great, but he's not terrible.
Dulling 1 active wind forward to crack with 2K. I mean that could be beneficial in some spots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like getting that last 2K on a big Barrelai play or on some type of Fina combo, and you've got a big 9 or a 10K on the board that just kind of escape that, and you can just dull a forward. Doesn't need haste because it's not the dulling icon. You could literally play Bismarck and dull Bismarck to deal that 2K. Yep. So a little bit of ping here and there. I do agree. The bouncing, I mean, Wind, and particularly if you decide to go all in on this strategy, by the way, and go Wind Water, because Water got some great cards to help support bounce in this particular set, which is nice because the game is so ETB heavy right now that bounce has just kind of fallen out of the game. Everything gets an effect when it enters, so you really don't want to bounce anything back to somebody's hand and let them play the damn thing again. Amaterasu and some other cards, including Sin in this set, an interesting card to look at. Trying to start negating that a little bit. I don't know. This is not one of my favorites either. It's definitely beneficial to be able to snag back to your own hand. Wind already does that with Althea rescuing things and with Mion and stuff like that. However, it'd feel really good to just keep taking 3 drops a Dane back to your hand and playing it in main 1 of the next turn over and over until your opponent could do something about it. That would feel really good. So, yeah, I'm torn on this one. Tark, what do you think?
It really, you gotta build around it. You gotta take care of its. You gotta have a lot of different wins. I could see dulling a bunch of your forwards just to get rid of one key target, then returning a card to your hand, replaying it later, so you get back onto the field effects. So there's a lot of different funky things you can do with it, but you got to really, I think, plan around it.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think you're a little right on the plan around it portion. And I don't like the idea of dulling multiple wind forwards to take out one big target, because in that case, you've probably sacrificed swinging 2 or 3 points of damage to get rid of a big target. And maybe it was, prohibiting you from attacking, and that's why you had to do it. But I just don't like that conceptually. I think there's other ways to use an effective summon to get rid of that thing and then swing for 3 damage rather than dull 3 or 4 forwards to deal 6 or 8K. And if that's what you need to do to clear the board, I just think there's more efficient ways to do that too. Stacking 2 and 3Ks over and over across the entire board in wind rather than just stacking them on one forward. I like this is another one like Ffbe for me. I like the text on it. The text is good. The text is interesting. I want to mess with it, but I just have a feeling again that it kind of finds its way out. That being said, I think this has a little more sticking potential than Ffbe does, because anytime you can return characters to your own hand, that opens up the opportunity for some really bizarre cycling in some really nifty decks. So I'm going to put this one at the 6, a little bit higher than Ffbe, but I think eventually by the time we get to the end of the Opus 14 set, I don't know how many wind decks are going to have Bismarck in them, Kronos.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably go I think we're gonna switch it a little bit. I'm gonna go with a 5 on him. I don't see him seeing too much success, honestly, just because I think of how awkward he is and how Wind has the ability to do a lot of the combos that you would do with him anyways, which kind of makes it even weirder for him to come in. So I'm gonna go with a 5.
Consideration, though, maybe dulling all of your forwards to take out something big isn't that big a deal with all the activation that is also in this element too.
Yeah.
So something to consider to Tark's point, that maybe it's not such a bad idea to dull 4 forwards, smack down an 8K target, and then, use a Diabolos and get all your backups and forwards up again and head on into combat.
Mm-hmm.
Could you effectively block a 7K with a 5K, and then in its damage resolution, you dull it, and then it's effectively 7K?
Yeah, you effectively trade at that point. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you can block and in response do this.
Cool beans.
What are you scoring it?
I'm going to give it a 6. I just think there's a lot that you would have to do to build around it. But if you got a plan, you could, again, keep catching people off guard. I think it could be a lot of fun if you plan around it properly.
Next up, we head into Earth. The Earth with Titan. Titan is a 7-cost 9K forward, so a little more expensive than the previous primals. When Titan Lord of the Crags enters the field, break all the forwards with power less than Titan Lord of the Crags. Less than and all, so includes yours, right? Mm-hmm. When 5 or more forwards are put into the field from the field into the break zone by this effect, Titan Lord of the Crags also goes ahead and smacks your opponent for 1 point of damage. Gets that 1 point of damage in there. I'm going to go to Tark first because I have a feeling that the newer player, I should say, he's not totally new anymore. The newer player in him is just going to love this. Love this card. Yeah, is it Medic? Medic must be on a little delay. Bouncing Zidane every turn is gross. Yeah. See? That's what I mean. It could be. What do you think, Tark? Because I have a feeling, like I said, the new player in you probably likes this an awful lot.
I think it's fun to clear the board and then deal pointed damage. That sounds like fun. It's a high cost 7, but it's a lot of fun to clear the board. Like, haha, suck it.
Well, I mean, Earth already has a 7-drop Shantoto backup, right? That exiles all forwards, including your own, from the game. So it's already got a 7-drop board clear on a backup body that can produce any element CP. Now we're seeing, essentially, in most cases, you're probably going to use this as a board clear. I talked on stream last night about situations where maybe it's not. Maybe it's a one-sided board clear. I could see running this as a one-of in like a Rampair deck where a lot of the forwards in a Rampair deck are sitting at the 9K mark. Things like Preesh and Shantoto, the stuff you want to play off of Rampair and things like that. And so you could feasibly have, Shantoto and Preesh out, drop Titan Lord of the Crags, have the opponent's board be cleared, and you sitting there with 3 9K bodies on the field. Hey, do you have a summon right now? Because if you don't, I think I'm going to win at this point. And the 1 point of damage is nice. I could see, that's probably more likely, and maybe if you were running Earth Water, splash a bunch of Vikings out on the board, and then Titan get those cards and clear the board. I like it. I think it's definitely fun. I think the stack gets a little interesting here because you could stack on that ability and buff his power. Give him 2K more power, and now all of a sudden he's taking out things that are 10K and below because he's sitting at 11K. So I do think it opens up some fun stack opportunities. It's kind of like they've been going like this for me, right? We started at, Shiva. Bismarck got a little better. Titan gets a little better for me here, too. I'm going to bump this one up to a 7. So I've kind of gone 5, 6, 7. I think out of the 3 we've covered so far, yeah, you just noticed it's both sides. Yeah, it's all forwards. Out of the 3 we've covered so far, I don't know if a full deck gets built around him, but I think you're going to see him like we saw Behemoth K in the last set. They're running Earth. There's probably a good chance they're running one of these. I feel like that's where this kind of heads, Kronos.
Yeah, I think this card's really good. I think, you have Shantoto, like you're probably not going to stop running Shantoto. But to have this in addition to Shantoto gives your opponents extra stuff to think about, right? Like before, it was like, okay, I just play around the one Shantoto, and if they have some trick, maybe to return it to her hand, they can play 2. But they kind of have to build to that. But now you don't even have to build to it, right? You can just play one Shantoto and this guy, which kind of serves the same purpose, right? Shantoto is not conditional, right? Shantoto is just going to do it. Whereas he's a bit, like you said, like you can do some things on the stack and you could reduce his power or increase his power. And sometimes maybe he's not a board clear. Sometimes he is. I think the second effect is kind of just icing on the cake. Like if you get that, you get that. But I think more you're just looking to clear the board here. So yeah, I think he's just really good for that. And I mean, worst case, like you mostly clear the board and you have a 9K.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good. So I think he's just really solid. I think, no pun intended. I think he's really good. So I think you already gave yours. So I'm gonna go with 8 on Titan.
I could see that. I could see an 8. Yeah, I could be persuaded to go 8. So yeah, I don't think you're off the mark there. Tark, what do you got?
I'll
just
give
the
him
score
8.
wise, yeah, 8. Okay.
Yeah, I'll give him 8. Clear the board, get rid of it.
All right, you've persuaded me. I'll give him an 8. I like him. I do like him quite a bit more than Shiva and Bismarck. So maybe just going up 1 isn't fair. We'll go up 2. Then we get to this bad boy, Cloud. Another Cloud for those of you playing Category 7 decks. When, where's Cloud? 4-drop, 8K forward. If your opponent controls any forwards, Cloud gains 2,000 power. So he's usually going to be a 4-drop 10K. When Cloud attacks, choose a forward. It gains, if possible, this forward must block until the end of turn. And at any time, you could use the action ability by discarding 1 Category 7 card, just any Category 7 card. And until the end of the turn, Cloud gains another 1,000 power, and Cloud cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities. Kronos, this one really messes with combat math. It hits the field, and combat math is a nightmare.
Yeah, I think he's awesome. Obviously, like you want to put him more in 7 stuff, but I don't even know if he has to really go there. I think this is kind of like what Earth likes to do, right?
Yep.
Like they want to make you really awkward for combat and then force you to fight their guys. So I mean, and the fact that you can like just discard even worst case like another copy of himself.
Yeah.
And he can become untargetable.
Yeah, that art is beautiful, Medic.
The only thing that gets me about the art is I can't unsee the little like laser sight like underneath his chin.
Yeah.
but I think the custom art is pretty sweet. And then like, the fact that he can like force something to block every turn is something that's not really common in the game. So I think he's a really, really cool card. And I think he's going to only get stronger, I think, because there's a 7 starter on the horizon, right? Another one. So we'll have to see like what that kind of gives him, but that's going to make the second ability even better. Not that there's already plenty of 7 support. I think he's just really good.
Is he better than the Clouds you would typically run in a Cat 7 deck, though? Maybe if you're doing Cloud Pod or, you're doing something with an existing Fire Earth is usually the elements you see that type of deck. Is he better than the Clouds that already go in that deck?
It's tough because if you're building the Cloud Pod deck, I think you're building to a certain thing. And in that deck, I don't think he's better than that Cloud. No way. But the
I mean,
5
Cloud Pod is a very specific example, though.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm thinking just if you're generally making a Fire Earth Cat 7
Right.
deck, is he the best Cloud for the deck now?
I
Assuming.
I would favor him over the Fire 5 CP, honestly. But I think the Fire 5 CP is still there, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think he just like leaves. But I think early game, especially in mid game, you want this guy out, and then maybe later in the game you nuke something with the 5 CP like on entry. But this dude is super annoying, or like mid game. So
he literally makes combat a nightmare just by existing. Like that's it. Just by existing on the field, he makes combat an absolute nightmare. Because the second I put a forward down, he's going to gain 2k power, because I went from 0 forwards to having a forward. Do they have a Cat 7 in their card in their hand? Could be a freaking third copy of Marlene, they don't care about discarding that and giving him the additional abilities. And great, now I got to block him, and he's 12k. It becomes a nightmare. Such a good card. Tark, what do you got here?
He sounds amazing. I want to play. I really want to play a 7 deck again. I had a lot of fun with that when I was playing with you. So yeah, he's pretty good, and it's like, how do you deal with him? Like, how do you get rid of him? And he's got a lot of tools, so he's awesome. And at 4 cost, yes, please.
Yeah, and if they're specifically in a Cat 7 deck, you basically have to assume that they have that action ability.
Absolutely.
Unless they don't have a hand. Like, unless they've played out or you've discarded them down, which even just makes, like, throwing an Odin or something out a risky proposition. Am I going to...
It's only abilities, right?
It's only abilities, I know. But it just makes everything so much riskier for you to have to go. I got to give this one a 9. I don't think it's the best Cloud to build around. I still think if you're going to build a Cat 7 deck, Cloud Pod is probably my go-to ability. I do like the abilities where you can force things to block. We saw that on Galif a few sets ago and some other cards where you can force the block. This does it at no cost. This is just by swinging. So I do kind of like that. Hey, I'm going to punch you in the face. And this is who I'm going to punch in the face. I get to choose who's going to do that. But I'm going to put it at 9 simply because I think if you're going to build a Cloud deck, my preference would be to go Cloud Pod, which this may not be in that deck, or if it is, it's in low numbers. So I'll give it a 9. Tark, what do you give it?
Based on just him solo, 9.5. He's awesome, and I want a full art of him. That's awesome art. So 9.5 for me.
Kronos?
I'm gonna stick with somewhere like an 8, just because I haven't seen enough of the 7 stuff, and I think that's the deck where he's really gonna shine. I don't know if
100%.
I don't know if you really just slide this guy in monks,
No.
So it's like I'm gonna stick with like an 8 now, but I think he has a lot of potential to be like even higher, depending on how good the 7 deck is and how good he is in that deck. So
next up, Ravana, our lightning primal. Keep in mind there were other primals too. We're just reviewing the legends. On the show as we do. So here we go with our lightning one, Ravana. Ravana is a 6-drop 9k forward. Ravana can attack 4 times in the same turn. Ravana cannot gain Brave, though. Can't give it Brave. If Ravana is dealt damage, reduce the damage by 5k. And when a character is put from the field into the break zone, activate Ravana. That's a lot of good text.
And it's your favorite element.
Yeah, yes, it is. This, when we saw it spoiled, Kronos, we kind of just like all went, this is a scary card. This is a very scary card. It's not going to work in every deck. You kind of have to build around him to a certain extent. Doesn't mean your whole deck has to be aimed at getting Ravana online. But a good portion, I think, of your deck needs to revolve around some way to get him to activate. Cycle characters, use lightning wind and use activation effects like Diabolos or things like that. I think a good portion of your deck has to be mapped around this. So I don't think he's like Behemoth K and we just throw a one of in every lightning deck. I don't think that's the case here. I love the idea of this in a Lulu deck. I absolutely love the idea of this in my Lulu deck. We will see how well it works, but I am constantly putting backups into the break zone with a Lulu deck anyway, and that is going to activate him every single time. This might encourage me to explore Lulu in Lightning Wind. So where Garland encouraged me to go Lightning Fire, this could very well encourage me to go Lightning Wind as well. It's a scary, scary card that you don't even want to block. You don't even want to block it because it's going to take 5k less damage. And if you block it and die, it's going to activate. So it's like you're just like, you know what? I'm going to let this thing hit me once every turn until I have a Diabolos or something to get rid of it. I'm just going to let it punch me in the mouth every turn. Tark, what do you think?
Ravana's going to wreck nerds. It's just as simple as that. Yeah, that might be the best way to deal with him until you actually have a way to deal with him, is just let him hit you. Because you do anything else
and hope they can't activate him.
Just don't lose any characters. Don't remove anything of mine, and let him be. Well, take my 1 point and be happy with that. And until you have something, he's just gonna wreck faces.
Like Kronos, even if they have something that would help them defend the swing, but it relies on let's say a backup breaking itself to do an effect, they're just like, damn it, I don't even because that's gonna activate the damn thing.
Yeah, I think this card from a design standpoint is really, really cool.
I agree.
I think a lot of turns you're not really going to get a lot of all three of those abilities.
Oh,
if that makes
no
sense.
doubt.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's more the threat of being able to than anything.
Yeah, I think what you said first is kind of where I started with him too. Is I don't think he's generically as good as Behemoth K. But when you start talking about stuff if you're throwing him in a Lulu deck or whatever, it becomes really, really interesting.
Yep.
Because it creates a lot of different ways to get his abilities. How good those decks are is kind of where I kind of come down on him a little bit. But I do think he's a really cool card. I just don't, from a competitive standpoint, I don't know how good those decks are going to be. And in the competitive decks that run purple, is he going to see play over the other cards that are also strong? And I'm not sure. It's kind of where I'm at. But I do think he's really cool. And if someone finds something that makes him work, he could be potentially a problem.
What are you giving him?
I'm going to probably sit at a 6 just because I'm kind of weary on how good he's going to be competitively, but I think he has a ton of potential.
Tark?
I'm going to give him an 8. I think he's going to wreck nerds. And Lightning's already strong. It's her favorite deck, too. It's just, he's so good.
Obviously, from a personal standpoint, I can't wait to mess with this card. It's a 10 on that scale, right? On the personal, I can't wait to mess with it scale. Realistically, though, I do align myself with you a little, Kronos. I think you, like I said at the beginning, you have to build a pretty significant, a not insignificant portion of your deck around the idea of getting Ravana to at least attack twice, as often as possible. So I am going to put it at between a 7 and an 8, right in there. I think it's strong enough that it deserves a 7 or an 8. It could be stronger. I'm certainly going to mess with it. It's a 10 on that scale. But, yeah, competitively, I have concerns. As cool as I personally think the card is, I have concerns.
My initial idea would be, try to do something with monsters with him.
Yeah.
Monsters that break themselves.
Yep.
I think that could be interesting.
Next up, Leviathan. Lord of the World. 9-drop, 9k. Very expensive, right? When Leviathan, Lord of the World, enters the field, choose up to 1 forward opponent controls, up to 1 backup opponent controls, and up to 1 monster opponent controls. Return them to their owner's hands. When a character is returned from the field to its owner's hand, choose 1 forward opponent controls. It loses 9,000 power until the end of turn. I'm going to throw it to the newer player first on this one, because this big numbers, big abilities, and I see his face already lighting up like it's frickin' Christmas.
9 costs kind of sucks. Not gonna lie, that's a little harsh. Is there many that are that high?
Not many.
Not many. We just actually this set introduced the first card that costs more than 10 CP. By the way,
Jesus balls.
We got the first 11 CP card in this set.
Okay, that's just stupid. That's your whole hand and all the backups, right?
pretty much.
Pretty much. My first thought when I saw this was like, oh, that plus the Bismarck we saw earlier, that's kind of cool. I would like to do that kind of combo. Little wind water shenanigans, putting stuff back into your hand, and by the way, that one's now got no power. I think he's pretty cool. His cost is crazy, but he's pretty cool, and he could do some cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, at worst, in most situations, you're going to bounce a forward, bounce a back up, and then choose 2 forwards to lose 9,000 power. That's like the worst case scenario in 90% of the times you play this card. Assuming there isn't some response to make something not choosable, which, by the way, all this targeting is individual, so canceling one does not negate everything else. These are all individual target choosings, so that's interesting in and of itself, too. The idea of, oh my God, putting this in ice water and flickering this is just terrifying. Flickering this with a Renoa, that's absolutely horrifying. Putting this in ice wind and bouncing stuff back with Althea, right? If you dull Althea, choose a target, Althea and that character come back to your hand. So you get 2 9k pings to forwards. You know what? Water has been in a rough spot for a while, and I think water maybe isn't going to be like full on back in this set, but it's certainly got a lot of help in Opus 14, and not just in this card. In some other stuff, too. Like Lakshmi, the other primal, is badass. Badass. You like drawing 3 every turn? I thought you did. Go ahead and play Lakshmi. I'm going to put this one, though, at a 9. It is warping when it enters the field, which we want in competitive. It is one of those cards that you do not have to build around bounce to make this worth it. I mean, literally... You probably want to, just to continue to get that easy removal once you've spent 9k or 9 CP, but you don't have to necessarily build around bounce to make this viable. I'm going to put this at a 9. It's definitely going to see play. It's definitely going to help water, and it's good, and it fits in any deck that you're building that has water in it. It's going to fit some better than others, but unlike Ravana, you don't have to make sure a third of your deck is built around Leviathan's abilities to make it strong. I'm going to put this at 9, bordering on thinking about a 10 for how much I think this will be played in the competitive meta.
I think this card's pretty good. Yeah. My only thing is, like, when you talk about, like, other elemental combinations, like, how much better is it? I know Nidhogg's a dark card, but it's like, I almost feel like Nidhogg in a lot of situations is going to do similar stuff unless you're just like really behind on board, where it's like Leviathan's just gonna nuke everything. So and like you said, you don't have to build to him, right? You just play him and he does it. Like you play him, he's gonna bounce 2 things and probably kill 2 things. So I think he's very, very strong and pretty fairly costed. And I think there's that new 3 CP wind monster that could get no, not Typhon. I think it's the water monster that like bounces 2 things. That's pretty cheap to bounce 2 things and then kill 2 things if you have this guy, if he lives a turn. So that's pretty feasible. I like Lakshmi over this card, though, just generically.
I agree. Like Lakshmi would get the 10 for me over this 9.
But yeah, I think you're going to see it, right? Like if blue cards are across the table, I think you should probably expect this guy to be there. Yeah, I'm a little bit probably I'm going to go with 8 on this guy too. I think he just does something really powerful, but I'm interested to see like how much he actually warps with like how good water is. Because I really like you said, I like a lot of the water cards in this set. I'm really big on Jekt. I really like the new Jekt a lot. And I do think Lakshmi's a better card than this. I'm interested to see like how this performs. So, but I'm gonna say 8.
What do you got, Tark?
I give it a 9, and that's because of the 9 cost and 9,000 power. So 9.
Fair enough. All right, we got to pick up the pace a little bit, or we're gonna be here all freaking night. Next up, Larsa. 2-drop 5K. X-Burst. When Larsa enters the field, choose a card in your damage zone, add it to your hand, put one card from your hand into the damage zone. Its X-Burst doesn't trigger. The forwards you control gain 2,000 power for every 3 cards with X-Burst in your damage zone. I don't have a lot to say about this one besides I think it's very neat. Very, very neat. This is the first. We've had things that rely on how much damage is in your break zone. We've had things like Axstar now that can trigger things that are in your damage zone, but we've never had things that let you actually interact with the cards in your damage zone. This is the first time we're seeing this. It might not be in the best way that you think for decks that you may want to build with this in there. I think this is very good for more, and especially in water, right? There's nothing worse than like losing a fucking Lena on the first damage that you take. By the way, this is a Lena target too. Now that I think about it. So I very, very much like this card. I like the game space. I think it will see competitive play. I'm going to give it, though, probably about an 8 because it's going to be stuck in water by itself until other elements start picking up similar type effects in future sets. So I'm going to give it about an 8. Tark, what do you got?
I was going to give it an 8 as well. 2,000 power, and it's based off of your
5,000
damage zone.
5,000 power.
No, I meant the plus 2,000.
Oh, the increase. Yeah. Sorry.
And we talked about this before that, messing with the damage zone, you can do a lot of cool stuff with it, and they're actually experimenting with that. So I like this. It's pretty simple. Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
Kronos?
It's definitely the best fourth-born son of the Emperor.
That's true.
For sure.
That is true.
No, I think this card's really good. It's like an effect, like you said, like an effect that we haven't seen before. Lets you kind of mess with your damage zone and get cards that hit that you don't necessarily want to hit. So yeah, I'm right with you. I think it's probably somewhere around an 8. I think it's going to see a fair bit of play.
What do you think of Shinryu? 5-drop 9k light forward. When it enters the field, 10k damage to all the forwards of cost 3, 6, and 9 opponent controls. And at the beginning of main phase 1, during your turns, reveal the top card of your opponent's deck. If it's a forward, all the forwards opponents control lose 7,000 power to the end of the turn. If it's not a forward, draw 2 cards, Kronos.
Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. I think if you hate samurais, you snap play this dude in your deck.
Yeah, it is 100. I've never seen a card printed so accurately to go after one archetype.
Yeah, that's definitely what this is, for sure. I think, other than that, I think it's pretty generically good. I just worry that it's going to get a little overshadowed by other light and dark cards that just kind of already exist. But I think it's solid. There's not a piece of bad text on it. So I'll go with a 7.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I would not mind running this. The question just becomes, do I want to run it over Citra? Do I want to run it over, whoever I happen to be running it in the deck there, because you don't want to pile on the light. I think this can... I'm going to try it in a couple different decks. I probably put it at a 7 only because its utility is not as much as you're going to get out of some other light forwards or some dark forwards even. Do you want to run this or do you want to run Kadash? Those become tough choices when you start thinking about light and darks. Tark, what do you got?
I'll give it a 7. I think it's awesome to have something affect every single turn. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's brought down because of its element and the restrictions to light and dark.
5-drop 10k next up here in Omega. Okay, so I'm going to just tell you what this does because this is horribly worded. The translation on this card is awful, okay? At the end of your turn, every turn, check to see if Omega has a counter on him. If he doesn't, put a counter on him, and that's the end of your turn. If he does have a counter on him, remove all counters and deal your opponent a point of damage instead. At any point, you can remove a counter to make Omega not be able to be broken until that turn, the end of the turn. So it's an if-then statement. People legitimately and rightfully asked immediately, well, wait, how could I ever take a counter off of him to make him protected with the way that's worded? Because they were reading as put a counter on and then take it off and deal damage. It's not. It's an if-then. No counters, add 1. If there's counters, take them off, deal 1 point of damage. Cute. I think it's cute. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of the card. Obviously, it's a huge body. Obviously, making him not be able to be broken is a big deal. But again, I keep running into the same and alternate damage is always nice, right? But I keep running into the same thing. It's the dark card. You know, do you want to take a shot at getting this to work once or twice to get an extra point or two of damage in? And if you can consistently with your build, then great. But that's not going to be too many builds. I'm going to put this one at a 7. I like what it does. I like the text. But I think it's going to have a hard time finding some spots. But that said, when you find its spot, it could very easily be a 10. It could very easily be a 10. Tark?
I'm going to give it a 5. It is a big body. That 10K is pretty beanie. But the restrictions on the element, plus, only being able to ping once or twice. And if you're caught off guard, then you could lose him. So I'm going to give him a 5.
Wow. Kronos?
Yeah, I'm going to say a 7. I think he does some interesting stuff. He feels like a boss monster, which I think is really cool. With I feel like they should do that more with light and dark cards, but that's a whole other thing. If you can find a way to play this guy on your opponent's turn somehow, that feels more advantageous. I don't know how common that's going to be, but I feel like that's the area that I would look into, because then you're kind of starting. You're going to start swinging and you're going to start dealing damage faster. So that's kind of where I'm a little higher on him, but I don't know if that actually works. I don't know if it's going to be successful. So, but I'm going to stick it like a 7.
Next up, Barrett Multi-Color. 4-drop 9K. If Barrett is dealt damage less than his power, damage becomes 0. The job avalanche operative forwards other than Barrett you control gain haste. And at any point, you can discard a card to choose one job avalanche operative other than Barrett in your break zone and add it to your hand. You can only use this ability once per turn. Go ahead, Kronos.
So obviously, if the starter deck is nuts and the avalanche operatives are nuts, this guy's going to be nuts.
Yep.
But we haven't seen those cards yet, so I'm kind of tame right now until I see them. But that's the deck he obviously pushes, and if that's good, he's going to be good. But I haven't seen those cards, so I'm gonna say it was 7 because I feel like if they're even decent, he'll be good. So.
Yeah, because it's a weird spot. Like right now, if I had to assume if I knew the decks were going to be something different, this actually isn't that great because there aren't many. I think there's 2 other targets that he can use that ability on, and so he's not that great. He's like a 4 or a 5. Assuming that starting deck is going to give him some more targets, then yeah, probably a 7 or an 8. I still think the 5-cost Barrett is probably the better Barrett overall for that deck, but yeah, a 6 or a 7-ish. Tark, what do you got?
I was going to give him a 6. I didn't know the rest of the cards for the deck. So I was initially going to say 7. But with Kronos saying we don't know what the rest of the team and the deck looks like, it's a little bit tempered.
Al-Cid in Lightning Ice. 4-drop. 8K. When Al-Cid enters the field, you can play 1 ice or lightning forward of cost 4 or less from your hand onto the field. So a 2 for 1. No surprises there for Al-Cid fans. When Al-Cid or an ice forward enters the field, choose up to 1 forward, freeze it. When a lightning forward you control attacks, choose a forward and dull it. Does it need to go without saying, I love this card. I love this card. I am definitely going to mess with this. Definitely. It's been a while since the other Al-Cid has been in any of my lightning builds. So it'll be nice to put him back in here. And a 2 for 1 that just starts dull freezing with lightning able to come over the top with the haste. This could be a little nutty. I like it. Tark, what do you got?
I'm going to give him a 9. He looks very strong. And it's freaking lightning. Just always getting the fun, big cool stuff, man.
Ramu, baby. Ramu. Not a legend, but Ramu.
Yeah. You and your lightning.
That Ramu looks disgusting. Fun toys. Yeah, I'm going to give this one.
It's a 9.
For me, I'm going to give this an 8. It's utility. It's definite utility. It's in a very specific deck. So I actually might bump it down to a 7, only because I don't think this is the best combination for competitive play. This is for my heart, a 9. for realistic, gonna see it at tournaments, probably a 7. Kronos.
So I actually really like how they pushed Ice Lightning this set.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like they're finally pushing it in a direction that's like interesting and cool, and it feels almost like the Fire Lightning of the set, like how it was like a set or two ago. So I'm pretty high on this dude. I think he's also like a 9.
You got Zeromus right behind him too in this.
Yeah,
set.
Zeromus and then Sephiroth, I think.
Yeah,
and that like those 3 together seem really good to me.
Yep.
And I think it might push it to the point where it's going to be a deck to be reckoned with. And I think that this guy's going to, him and Zeromus are going to be the main reason. Sephiroth's going to kind of be there tagging along. But
I hope you're right, because it's been one of my favorite decks for a long time. Ice Lightning, with the haste and the dulling and the freezing and it's just a lot of fun. I played multiple local qualifiers with Ice Lightning. Last legend here. Let me pull it up. It is Vaughn. 6-drop wind, water, 8K. When Vaughn enters the field, you may search for 1 job Sky Pirate of cost 2 or less. Play it to the field. Activate all the backups you control. When a job Sky Pirate you control is chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities, choose up to 2 backups. Activate them. Obviously, this is a super specific deck. This is geared right at a Sky Pirates tribal deck. For maximum effect, let's say. For maximum effect. What do you think, Kronos?
Yeah, I agree. I think in Sky Pirates, this is where he's going to be the most nutty. How good that deck is, probably not super great. I think they're probably a bit better than people give him credit for, but not like...
It's Torchwick's favorite deck, and he cleans up.
So yeah, you're going to snap put 3 of this dude in that deck, 100%.
I've actually asked him about it, because the other Vaughn that can get you at 5 damage or more, the 2-for-1.
Right, the 60p.
Does he take that spot? And this guy can play backups, right? You can go search and immediately play a backup. That's beneficial, but at the expense of your late game rebounding.
Yeah, you don't get the swinginess the other one gives you.
Yeah.
Not to the same extent, right?
Yep.
The interesting thing, I guess, this dude can just play him by himself with like some generic 2CP Sky Pirate that he just plays.
Yeah.
And then whenever he attacks, he can reactivate stuff. Or my bad, can't be chosen, right? Oh no, activate 2 backups, yeah. So and that's not terrible. But I'm probably gonna sit somewhere around a 7. I think he's strong, but it's
too specific.
Yeah.
It's too specific. Tark.
I want to play him and Bismarck and Leviathan all together.
Oh my God! On that note, we're going to love it or leave it. Yeah, don't expect the Opus 14 Fran to be nice with these. You're right, Medic. The 10, Opus 10, not this one. The one in this set isn't even a Sky Pirate. Welcome to Love It or Leave It. This is how we wrap up the show. Normally, I give you 1 item from Square Enix that you tell me that you absolutely love it, want more of it, or you leave it. Today, we're going to do it a little differently since we did the set. I want to know the 1 legend you love from the set, couldn't be without, and the 1 legend you want to leave behind. Tark, it's up to you first.
I will keep Cloud. I think he's strong, and you get a good 7 deck around him. He's just going to be a beast to deal with. I'm going to leave Gilgamesh. That's just awful. So bad.
Kronos.
I feel like we're all going to leave Gilgamesh. That card, it's something. That's the fact that that's an L baffles me. I'm going to take Titan as my favorite, though. I think he's just generically good, and I don't see a realm where he's bad. So I think Titan for me.
I'm going to love me some Ravana and leave me some Gilgamesh. I don't think there was any surprises there. Let us know which one you love, which one you want to leave. But chat, don't go anywhere right after the show. We got Ffbe Death coming online with a stream. What's up, Ffbe?
What up?
What you doing? What you playing today?
We are going in for some Destiny 2. Get some super pew 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 pew.
Oh, you're going to have guests though, right? Yod is,
yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, Yod's going to teach you guys how to play, huh?
Yeah, probably.
He loves Destiny 2. He loves it.
He does. It's his game. So we're going into Yodlands for a little murder hobing.
Nice. That'll be fun. Chat, hang out. We'll turn it over to Ffbe in just a minute. We'll be live again next Thursday, 7 p.m. Of course, remember, Monday at 7 p.m. we'll be doing some pre-release kit opening and with the overhead cams and all that stuff. Stop by. We'll have a good time, and then we'll see you Thursday for a Relic Grind. I have another stream in between then, too. Just follow it on Twitter. Follow the Twitter thing. The kids are using that these days. Go ahead and follow at RC Radio, RAIDEO on Twitter, and then you'll know when we're live. And until then, Kronos, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, same as always, Twitter. I'm thinking about probably streaming a little bit more again. I entered a Guilty Gear tournament last week, so I think I might enter another one maybe next week. We'll see how that goes. I streamed it. It was okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Tark.
You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Tarkoth Gaming, playing Final Fantasy XIV, doing a little Nier Reincarnation. You can also find me here at Ready Check Radio on the weekends. We're finishing up Nier Replicant and going to be going into Automata here real soon.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio on Twitter so we can let you know every time we go live with a show where one of our lovely volunteer streamers who I love so much is hanging out with you live and chilling and playing. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the server. Later.